Told myself I wouldn't post on YouTube talking to the camera, but here we are. Just to follow up on a video I made a little while back, 2 shots, Alexa Mini LF and Sony FX3. Natural light out the back window, me sitting in front of the window. See how the two look together. Half the comments say, wow, Sony is great, no need for the Alexa. Half the comments say Alexa is better. But when it comes down to it, the Alexa really does, when it comes down to me doing the whole process, like shooting and managing the post-production, it is nice to get into Resolve and have not so much work to do on the footage. Okay, so we have a bunch of clips here that you either just saw or you're about to see. However, this comes together when I throw it together as fast as possible in Premiere. When we're looking at something like this, I feel like it's a little easier to get the grade how you want it to be, just because it can be literally anything. Same with these shots where it's just like some flickering lights. But let's just get into when it really matters. This is in a completely blacked out room. It's this room, and when it was dark outside and the shades were shut, and consistent lighting. Alexa, Sony, straight off the camera. Alexa, Sony. Alexa, Sony. We have the Alexa and the Sony with their proper Rec. 709 LUT. For one is much brighter than the other. I did shoot these both at their native ISO and also both at 800, and this is the Alexa at 800, this is the Sony at 800. All other settings remain the same. I use different lenses on each camera, or actually for this I use the same lens on each camera, same settings, aperture, ISO, shutter speed, everything. This is one thing that really bothers me when working with multiple cameras. Just to do these most simple moves to get this to a point that looks correct, I set the white balance, and you can see it kind of cleans up our waveform down here. And same thing on the Sony, cleans up the waveform. The next thing I did was just put a false color on and just kind of picked where I wanted the exposure to be. Maybe a line halfway down my nose might be right between pink and green. And then we can turn that off, and this looks better. It looks much better. So this is just with a white balance correction and an exposure correction. So now we look at the Sony, same thing. I did the same thing with exposure. If you look at the waveform down here, our images are fairly similar in terms of exposure, and we can just see the difference here between my face and the skin tone. I have my preference on which looks better here, and you can get them to look fairly similar. It's just tough. It is nice to be able to get a good starting point without having to use any qualifiers, without having to change a hue versus hue. You can see what I can see here, and one of these is a much better starting point. Now we're outside, same settings on both cameras. On the Alexa here, I did the same exact thing. I did the same thing for all of these clips. I white balanced up here, clean up our waveform a little bit, and that's it. On Sony, I white balanced up here, clean up the waveform, and brought the exposure up. I am literally just doing the easiest way that you can just get these images to a starting point. And there's a lot of different ways to do that, but all I want to do is just add a little bit of exposure. And if we go back and forth between these, they're similar exposures if you look at the waveform. You can see the skin tones here on the Sony and on the Alexa. You can see this blue jacket. It's a little more purple here. Sony, Alexa. This is the Alexa just with the LUT. This is the Sony just with the LUT. Arri 709, and this is S-Log3 S-Gamma 3 Cine 2 709 LUT. White balance right here. I brought the exposure down, and we'll go back and forth. You can see the jacket. This has a little bit more of like a filmic blue to it, I think. And again, it's just a nice starting point. So that is that. And this is either the end of the video or I'm gonna play through the footage that I just went through that will also have my buddy's C70.